Hey, Rob Browne here with you on this Wednesday morning, middle of the week. I love every day. Weekends are just as
You
much
love
fun as
every
weekdays.
day, don't you?
Yeah, it's
Every
going to be a
single
great
day.
day. Yeah,
You get
it's
up
going to be
every
a great
day and
day.
you're like, I love today.
It's going to be a great day. 5 alive, man. Let's get after it. So,
I would, you and I
hey,
would.
optimism, man. Optimism, the power. Junk in your head, junk out, positive in, positive out. We got an awesome show today because we got an incredibly brilliant, gifted producer, Brenden Martin, down in
Clearly.
Ocala, Florida, the limestone in the
Pessimist.
horse capital of the world.
Horse capital of the world.
Marion County. Jordan Davis Hill, back from his honeymoon, just got married. He'll be with us 24/7 Sports on the Georgia Bulldogs, talking some dogs, what's going on over there.
Where did
and
he
then,
go?
We're about to find out, and show and tell is coming up next. But then we got, oh, there it is. Oh, man, that's a beautiful sign. That's a cool sign of the state of Florida, shaped like that. Is a great marketing tool. The state of Florida with a horse head. But we also got Dudley, Dawson, Hogville.net going to join us, and Vince Ferrara from the Sports Animal in Knoxville.
I'll put that in there for you.
South Carolina, Brenden. There's a lot to cover with our paintbrush.
We have, all right, we're paintbrushes. If you got a paintbrush, make sure you smash that subscribe button down in the bottom right-hand corner. Give us a like on Facebook, all that kind of good stuff. We'll be back right after this.
Allow notifications.
Oh, yeah. Allow notifications and all those things. Loud noises.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
All right, man. It is right now. We're in this college basketball is winding up the regular season, about to start the tournament. We got a couple of games left. Spring practice is underway. We've also got college baseball, which is a big deal. Jordan Davis Hill covers Georgia for us. I mean, he is seriously invested in what's going on at the University of Georgia. And let me say something real quick. This is a cool cup. Bim Bam's Burgers and Wings in Oxford, Mississippi. Gotta love that cheer. Are you ready? Hell yeah, damn right. Hotty toddy, gosh almighty, who the hell are we? Hey, flim flam, Bim Bam, Ole Miss by damn. Bim Bam's. This is an awesome restaurant in Oxford, right there on Jackson. And we went there the other day. Audrey got a Wagyu burger. We got wings. We got the Bim Bam sliders. I fast, Jordan, until about noon. So I just have to think about food. But Bim Bam's in Oxford, great place to go eat. Jordan, you're married now. And obviously your wife knows how busy you are and the commitment that you have to the University of Georgia. And one day you'll have a bunch of kids running around the house. Nothing will get you out of bed earlier in the morning than that. It's the greatest thing that can happen to you. I have 4 now, and you're going to be an awesome dad. I just see how you carry yourself. I know people that know you. Everybody gives you 2 thumbs up. So congratulations. And where'd you go on your honeymoon?
I appreciate that, Rob. Yeah, we went down to Rosemary Beach in Florida and spent a few days out there on 38. So it was fun. It wasn't a long break, you know. I missed a couple basketball games, but it was nice to kind of, have a little time to ourselves before we jump right back in. And then I want to give my wife a lot of credit for being willing to get married outside of football season, just because it was busy planning everything. If I was in the middle of a football season, man, that would have been wild.
Listen, Jordan, I'm the son of a sports writer. Okay. Let me just tell you, there have been moments, including my wedding, which I'm divorced, but my wedding where Urban Meyer left his job. My photographer was Gator Country's photographer for my wedding at the same time. All of a sudden I look up and like half the people that are like in my wedding have now disappeared and huddling in the back room discussing how Urban has just left Florida. in the middle of my wedding. And they're, so these moments in your life as you embark on this career, like as, a family person, everything is planned around championship games. It's like you look at the football schedule, you're like, that's it. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. I can't do anything else. That's it. I'm done.
And it is.
I will say this, I was just going to say real quick, it's nice, like in a year like this, Georgia has 2 bye weeks. So going to try to maximize the 2 weeks they aren't playing, because usually it's one, and then we try to, either go to the mountains or go see friends, because once it gets to about the 1st of August, that's all she wrote till about mid-January.
Yeah.
Good luck anymore, though. That bye week is just like a catch-up and like, oh, I got all my stuff done. Yeah. And then you're like, oh, God, I got to do 10 more things. And then you're like, oh, my God, it's already Monday.
Yeah. And Jordan, you're putting out a ton of content. People direct it to Dogs 24/7. People are forgetting this. August 31st is going to be here before you know it. Spring practice is underway, but Georgia opens up with Clemson. They got 18 starters returning. And we were coming from Charlotte to Atlanta a couple of weeks ago, down 85. It ain't but about an hour's difference in those 2 campuses. This one's going to be in Athens this year. This is a huge open. This is a legitimate. It's not in a neutral site. And Charlotte is SEC, ACC. But let's talk about Georgia football. You take over from here and talk the next 2 days if you want to.
Well, I wanted to correct you. It's actually in Atlanta, so it will be in Mercedes-Benz. So, and okay. I think this would be really cool. We don't know the kickoff times. But Georgia State, where Dell McGee just left, he's going to be the head coach there. They open at Georgia Tech. I'm really hoping there are some Georgia fans. Maybe that game's a nooner, and then the Georgia Clemson game, maybe that's an 8 o'clock. How cool would that be to go to both games there in Atlanta and get a chance to go watch them? I think that would be super fun. And I know that even if Georgia fans don't go there, man, they're going to be rooting for Georgia Tech to start 0-1 and see Dell get his first win there and Bobby Dodd. I don't know if it'll happen, but they're going to give it all they got. But, yeah, we're at the point. Georgia opens spring practice this upcoming Tuesday, and it's just sort of a countdown to getting to that point. It's going to be a really interesting year, with everything Georgia's lost, losing guys like Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey and several guys on defense. But, you got your quarterback back. You've got Dominic Lovett, who was the leading wide receiver this past year. They've got pieces back. They went and got Trevor Etienne from Florida, who we've talked about on the show before. There's a lot of excitement. I think the last time I looked, Georgia is the betting favorite to win the national title. It's not going to be easy, but there's a lot of excitement. And I know for everybody on our board, they're counting down the days. Again, now we're 6 days away from the start of spring ball. And I'm super excited to see it get underway and see what this team looks like.
Think back a year ago. Remember the narrative? You and I talked about it. Oh, this Georgia schedule is so easy. And then you had to run that gauntlet in November of Ole Miss, Missouri, and Tennessee, and a better than expected Georgia Tech team later in the season. Okay, look at it now. You got the game in Atlanta against Clemson. That'll be, Clemson is an hour and 45 minutes from their campus. And that doesn't mean all the fans of Clemson live in Clemson. Atlanta, if Clemson or Auburn play Georgia there, and it's a neutral game, it can be a neutral game. But then you got to play at Texas, at Alabama, and at Ole Miss. Who has a tougher schedule? Maybe Florida does, but let's talk about that schedule and that narrative heading into this season. Carson Beck is back, driving a 1979 AMC Pacer, but he's back.
Something like that, Rob. But what's funny to me with the schedule, there's no chance that anyone is going to look at the schedule and say it's not tough. Georgia is one of 4 teams in all of college football playing multiple playoff teams from this past season, and Georgia's the only one who is playing both teams on the road. Because there's other teams. Vanderbilt, I know, is one. I believe Michigan might be another one. But some of those games are on their home turf. Georgia is on the for both of those games, so it's going to be a challenge. And again, I don't think we can look past Ole Miss. I mean, I think they're going to be really good again this year, having Jackson Dart back. Losing Quinshon Judkins, that does hurt a whole lot, but we know how Lane has stacked talent both in high school and the portal, and having to go to Ole Miss. And I've done this the last 3 years. When you look at Georgia, I'm always wary about those games in November because that's later in the season. You don't know. You're going to have guys out. This past season was you had to go with a little bit without Brock Bowers. I mean, you are going to lose some guys, and you're definitely going to have guys playing who are not 100%. So having to go to Oxford, Ole Miss could very well be in that 12-team playoff, have a lot to play for along with Georgia. There's a lot of challenges on this schedule. I think that, Georgia, I haven't sat down and really gone through my predictions. I wouldn't be surprised if they drop a game, but again, you have that leeway with the 12-team playoff that you may lose one along the way. It's not going to hurt like it did in past years.
Well, and this is the interesting. Ladd McConkey, by the way, a 4.3940 at the combine. I mean, this guy, every time I think of him, I always go about Liam Neeson. But I just what an athlete. I mean, that is a fast, legit time at the combine. Michigan does have to play at Ohio State and at Texas, I believe. That's the other one you're talking about. So you think about this Georgia team, and they're not Pollyannas and saying we just stick another guy in there. It's all calculated, and it's basically built from high school. There are a few portal guys in there, but talk about the depth coming back, especially on the defensive line.
Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing, and it's funny. I would encourage anyone who hasn't watched this. Kirby sat down with Josh Pate, our buddy over there at 24/7, and did about a 25-minute interview on late kick, and Josh asked Kirby about, his concerns going into spring, and he talked about depth. But I'm pretty sure I've heard Kirby say that, for the entire time I've covered him, that, they're worried about depth. They don't got enough guys. And he pointed to the lines. And, his conversation with Josh, he talked about that, talking to NFL staffers, front office people, they talk about how hard it is to find guys that can play offensive and defensive line, big guys. I think big men is what Kirby called them.
Yeah.
That is a concern, but Georgia does it better than pretty much anyone else in the country. To me, one of the big questions, offensive line, they've stacked a lot of talent. They've got guys that they're really deep. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, if someone were to leave after spring because there's only 5 starting spots, and you've got at least probably 7 or 8 guys who have the ability to start. Defensive line, they're going to have some guys break out. I think it was a little disappointing last season. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, don't you guys think it's interesting when you've got 2 teams like Texas and Oklahoma who are now entering into the SEC this year, and the very first thing that they both teams do is they go looking for bigger offensive linemen because they know they can't win without size, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the name of the game in the SEC is that if you can't push your way around, you're not going to win. I mean, and I just thought that was fat. Here you got 2, like, Texas, and Oklahoma, 2 powerhouse
just made
programs.
the playoff.
And they're like, first thing they do is they go hit the portal. By the way, the best team, who's got the number 1, I guess, portal transfers this year for offenses? Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Got the best
Jordan,
group.
that's the thing about it is with Georgia. And Mark Ham, one of our friends on the show here who's on Rocky Top Tennessee Tailgate Report, his son Will's working with Kendall Milton and some other guys out in Dallas that were getting ready for the combine. They got to talk to all those guys and said they're first-class guys. I mean, you're around these Georgia guys. They've really bought in to what Kirby Smart and the staff are selling. And there's only, one coach still on the staff, Glenn Schumann, from the original group that started back in 2016. Kind of sounds like his mentor,
so
Nick
technically,
Saban's.
Yeah. So technically now there's 2, but Glenn is the only one who's been there the entire time. James Coley just came back from South Carolina, but he had been gone since he left after the 2019 season. But yeah, I mean, Glenn's been right-hand man. That I remember when he was first hired at Georgia, there was a report out there that, when Alabama would sit down and do their defensive staff meetings, getting ready to make their defensive game plan for a game, that there were 3 people in the room, and it was Nick Saban, Kirby Smart, and Glenn Schumann. And, I mean, Glenn was like 25, 26.
Jeez.
Glenn was super young at that point. I mean, that shows you, how much respect he had already earned. But, yeah, Glenn's been along for the whole ride. Dell had been there for the entire time. And, hey, let's give a shout-out to the former Auburn defensive back. I'm excited for him. I think that's a really good job at Georgia State.
Yeah. Well, it is because he's now – he went to Baker High School in Columbus, and the Bi-City, they play some, this, Columbus and Phoenix City put out a lot of players, and they got a few of them at Phoenix City Central. Patrick Nix is coaching there. Georgia, in terms of recruiting right now, getting some questions, some Georgia fan out in Reno, Nevada. How are they doing? I mean, it looks like they're, 8th or 9th, whatever like that, but they're used to being number 1, but in state, how strong is this class?
This is more of a return to what you're used to seeing in the state of Georgia. I think last year was just a little bit lower, but even when I say that, there were some really talented guys. I'm really fascinated to see what Georgia does really in the whole Southeast. I mean, right now, the big name is David Sanders, an offensive lineman. It seems like it's going to be Clemson or Georgia. And it's kind of funny, 1, start the season, but 2, Matt Luke, who used to be Georgia's offensive line coach, he's at Clemson now. He took a couple years off and is now coaching with Dabo. There's a lot of guys in state they're really excited about. I think they're in good position. It's a nice chance for me to plug, Rob. On Tuesday, our guy Benjamin Wolk, our recruiting reporter there at Dogs 24/7, he put out a mock class that is, as it stands, hey, this is how we see this playing out. I would highly encourage people to go check that out. And I think Georgia fans would be really excited. They're in for a lot of guys. Mentioning David Sanders, another thing I want to watch, I mentioned James Coley a few minutes ago. He's pushing really hard for some big names at receiver. There's a guy out of Cocoa, Florida, who's an Ohio State commit that Georgia just offered, and he is working really, really hard. James Coley's got a lot of connections in Florida. I don't think that was by coincidence that Kirby decided to go get him and bring him back. So they're swinging for the fences as they always do. They don't have the number 1 class in 25 right now, but I think they're well on their way to another really strong class. And at this point, Kirby and that staff, they make our job easy. I mean, we can pretty much say, oh yeah, they're going to get a bunch of 5 stars and a bunch of 4 stars. We may not even, more often than not, they prove
enjoy
it.
Enjoy it while you have it, my friend.
Yeah. This stuff goes in. Yeah, he's right. It goes in cycles.
I remember my dad told me that after Florida won, back to back when we had the basketball and football dueling national champion natties. And when my dad looked at me, he's like, just enjoy this moment. Because it's never going to happen again. Just so you know.
Yeah.
Like I know you get used to it, like as if, oh yeah, it's not a big deal. We reload. Look, hey, Alabama, strap it in. It's not going to be the same as it used to be. It's like when Kirby leaves, it's like, Georgia, get ready. Because it really matters.
Yeah.
Like, that coach really makes that much difference anyway.
Yeah.
So enjoy it, okay, Jordan? Bask in it. New baby.
Jordan, I think
fans,
you do. Hey, he served some time down at Auburn for 6 years before coming up there. And then, just asking you before you go, the Georgia fans, how similar are they to what they were like under Mark Richt? Have they changed? I mean, I think they've always expected to win. They're 9th or 10th winningest program in the history of college football. Someone asked last year, they ask it all the time, is Georgia considered a blue blood in college football? I'm like, are you a living brain donor? Seriously? Hell yeah, they are. They're one of them.
Yeah, I mean, with the fans, I think that you've got such higher expectations. For the longest time, I think Georgia fans felt like, well, we're never going to win. We get this close. It's never going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then, credit to Kirby Smart. I mean, they built this thing into a machine. But now you have higher expectations. I think they tell you they were disappointed with last season. And you lost one game, and you lost it by 3 to Alabama. I mean, that's a high bar to clear. So, and I think that's natural with any team that makes a run. I know Clemson fans have been super frustrated the last few years after winning 2 national championships. So it comes with the territory. Again, I think that Georgia fans are definitely walking around more with their chests, puffed out a little bit compared
you
to
guys
the Rick
really
era.
are, especially around here, Florida. All these Georgia T-shirts. You know.
But you know what? You should
Well,
be. I mean, when you're winning like that, you ought to be happy.
I know. Listen, I've been losing for a decade. I know.
But the thing is, there's plenty of Florida fans and Auburn fans who, for the longest time were Georgia fans. How many days it had been since they won a national title, and that's not happening anymore.
They regret that.
No.
Don't poke the bear. I mean, that Georgia has consistently. I mean, you go back since 1980, and everybody talked about that 41-year gap. They were still the 6th or 7th winningest program in college football, but the narrative is national championships. But one more thing here before you let people know how they can follow you, the importance of high school football. What about 250 Division I players coming out of Georgia? Is Metro Atlanta now the place compared to, say, South Georgia? Are kids just moving into, because there's 6.5 million people in that 22 county area around there, and it's become like Costco for recruiting. Everybody wants to go there. Do you have your Atlanta card?
Yeah, I mean that's the way to go. That's where you got to go to get players. And I think sometimes, there's been a lot of frustration with Georgia fans about, oh man, we can't recruit Grayson. We have trouble in Buford. They finally they got 2 guys out of Buford this offseason, a transfer, and I think the Angels started singing for some Georgia fans because it had been a long time since they gotten those kids. But for Georgia, part of the problem of trying to keep some of those guys, especially in like the Gwinnett County area in Georgia, a lot of those guys, moved to Gwinnett County, moved to Metro Atlanta. They didn't grow up there. They don't have direct ties to Georgia. So I think it's harder to keep those guys home compared to if you're recruiting a South Georgia. I'd say the majority of those kids grew up down there. They grew up Georgia fans. They may have grown up, Florida State or Florida fans, depending on how close they are to the line.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if you can get, pick some of the talent out of that Metro Atlanta area, Kirby's done such a good job of really starting in Georgia, those first few classes, and now Georgia has that national prominence where they're going to go all the way around. I mean, as we've talked about, going to Arizona, going to California, going to Texas, and getting the guys they want to put.
Yeah, well, let people know how they can follow you. I know you got a big day ahead of you. Again, congratulations. God bless you, man. My parents have been married 58 years now. I think 58. Longer. No, 65. 65 years. So it can be done, man. Patience and respect for football season. But God bless you, man. Let people know how they can follow you. We really missed you these last few weeks when you were gone because you really always bring the knockout punches. You know what you're doing. You cover Georgia, but you also have a big picture perspective that is really important, and I love having you on the show. Appreciate it.
I appreciate that. Well, dogs247.com. I believe right now we're running a 30% off VIP sale, so I'd recommend people to go check that out. On Twitter at Jordan Davis Hill, on Twitter at Dogs247. So, yeah, the countdown is on to spring ball. We'll be balancing that and what's left of the men's basketball season and then really get into talking season.
Yeah, and you know what? We can talk about.
We got those months where we're
Yeah.
144
hours away.
We'll talk about Etienne's comments next time about how he had to go on his talk about.
There you go.
Talk
We'll
about
save it for
all
next.
those. I hope he breaks an ankle.
No. Hey, look, listen, Jordan, 144 hours away from the start of spring practice. If anybody's keeping track, I'm just saying.
No.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Jordan. Be well.
Thank you, Jordan Davis Hill, 24/7 Sports, Georgia. All right, let's head up to the northwest corner of the natural state.
Dudley, I just want you to know that you stayed on hold longer because of him. I tried to get you on fast.
I can't see the number. I'm sorry, because I at 20 after it was about 4 minutes. I apologize.
I tried.
I had a ladybug on my mic. What is that supposed to mean, Dudley? If a ladybug lands on your shoulder or is on your microphone or something, is it supposed to be good luck? Because I'm glad we have you live from the baseball sports complex at Appalachian State University in beautiful Boone, North Carolina. I love that background. That's gorgeous.
Yeah, I believe you're supposed to call it pest control person.
Yeah, I think that's not good.
Yeah.
Aren't ladybugs? They're friendly.
I was once coaching.
Historically, it's cross-culturally. Ladybugs are believed to be talismans of luck. Some believe that ladybugs land on you. You should count the number of spots to predict how many years of good luck you will have. Many think the spots indicate the number of months until your greatest wish comes true. Rob Browne. There you go. That's it.
What I know is that I once was coaching my son's t-ball team, and he's now 33. But there was a kid out in right field, and he kept his head down the entire time. Was just looking in his glove. So I called time and went out there and said, "Hey, little guy, what's going on? What can I do to help here?" And he opened his glove and he showed me. He said, "Ladybug." I mean, what do you say to that? Yeah. Okay, how about let's watch the batter or something. I mean, the dude had a ladybug in his glove, and he was fascinated. Didn't want to spoil his moment.
No, they are. They are. They're cool little bug. We got them all over the place. I'm at the farm today in Parkin and Arkansas, and they're everywhere. They're taking over. And guess who's also back early? When he had 80-degree weather Monday, mosquitoes are back. Already back. And
they didn't leave here. So.
No. Now, they left here. But we had a week and a half of winter this year. That's about it, of really cold weather. Dudley, Sam Pittman, the Hogs, spring practice, all that stuff, everything. It's football season's about to get started. Basketball season still out there. Your takeaway on Eric Musselman, what do you think is going to happen with this team? Why would he leave Arkansas? A lot of people think, he's going to leave because he has one bad season. I'm not buying it.
Well, I don't think he would leave because of one bad season. I think he's a competitor and would like to bounce this thing back and not leave on this note. As I've said before, I think the reason he would leave is if a job like UCLA, USC, Arizona State came open. Those are places. I think he's a California guy at heart. Yeah. Although he's really adopted Arkansas. We'll just have to sit around here and see what happens. Again, I don't think he would leave out of, not thinking he could get the program back to where he was, in this next year. But I do think there are jobs that are closer to San Diego that, he might take a look at. And, as far as what's going to happen with them, got LSU here at home tonight, Alabama there on Saturday, the SEC tournament. You look at that schedule, they're under 500. They'll get to the SEC tournament, probably play Vanderbilt or somebody there in the first round who they lost to at home. So, I think the basketball season is nearing the end.
Yeah. Well,
literally and figuratively.
Yeah, you're right. Well, now looking at football season, Sam Pittman, I'm watching SEC Network last night. You see Sam Pittman on there. They're going to be doing some different things. How did Arkansas's portal class help? Is it expected to offer a lot of help? You've got Bobby Petrino. We know the story. Let's talk about him as a coach and the kind of offense you think he's going to try to run at Arkansas compared to what they've been doing in the previous 4 years under Sam Pittman and Dan Enos last year. That did not work. I thought it would, but it didn't. Yeah.
I think the biggest things that came out of Coach Pittman's press conference yesterday, he had one to preview the spring. They obviously get going on Thursday mornings. They're going to be practicing in the mornings at 8 a.m. That's the sound of rejoicing sports writers. Young ones griping, old ones excited because you get up, get your day over with, and go on. Get your stories written and all that. But apparently they just want to try something different, as well as being able to. You won't have to have kids coming out of practice and going to class, as you do if you do in the afternoon when you have labs and all these things. Apparently athletes still go to class, even though they're getting paid now.
Yeah.
Right. So that was one thing that came out of there. Another thing was he's going to have these Saturday scrimmages where he's going to allow the fans to come see it. And, when we asked him why yesterday, he basically, in a roundabout way, said, look, we weren't any good last year. Don't have much interest, so we're going to do everything we can to get interest going again. And one of the things that fans griped about, and some media griped about, not me, but some media griped about, was not having enough access to practice, even though, you got 20 minutes, an hour, and all of that. I was fine with that. It's just how things are done these days. But they're trying to do things knowing that they're coming off a 4-8 season, knowing that the only thing that has really the couple of things, Bobby Petrino coming back. He reiterated yesterday, Coach Pittman did, that Coach Petrino will have full control of the offense. So I guess if the offense doesn't work out, hey, it's on you, Coach Petrino. If it does, it's on you, Coach Petrino. They're excited about the defensive coaches they have. Obviously the Dan Enos thing didn't work out last year, so we'll see how it plays itself out. But I'm of the mind in this day and age of college football's business deal that there'll be another 10 people come in here. There'll be another 5 people leave. So truly, you don't know what you have as a football fan, as a media guy. You don't know what you have till they get out there and play. And this just happens to be UAPB in Little Rock on August 31st. We'll have a better handle on what we got going here.
Yeah, we're talking with Dudley, Dawson, Hogville.net on the Chad House, ECS House Industries Razorback Report. Check them out on the website, houseindustriesinc.com. Wastewater management, treatment, aquaculture. They do the better roller, the pulverizer, the better chopper. Also, they make the aerators for the catfish farms. If you love catfish, and I love catfish sandwiches, they make those aerators. They're all over America, all over the world, located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, right in the heart of the Mississippi Delta, between Wynn and the borough, Jonesboro. And they have a 99,000 square foot warehouse where they make the best equipment. And their employees and their boss, our friend Chad House, the CEO, loves to, at the end of the year around Christmas, talk about how much he loves his employees. He said his favorite time is when he gets to write bonus checks to his employees. Again, check them out on our website, houseindustriesinc.com. They are a great sponsor of this show and the Razorback Report. Dudley, before Vince Ferrara joins us from over in Knoxville, baseball getting underway, and I know we'll talk with you and Vince about college baseball. It is so popular in the South. This is what, year 21 or 22 for Dave Van Horn. Razorback Balm Stadium packs from 12 to 15,000. The fire marshal, I don't care if he listens to the show or not. It's outside, so they should be fine. But there are a lot of people that care about Razorback baseball. How's this team looking to you? You know baseball. You're a Cardinals fan, a Celtics fan, a Cowboys fan. But one thing you are more than anything else is you're loyal and you're very smart and you're very objective.
Well, thank you for all that.
Bam, man.
Arkansas' baseball team is 10-2, and number 2 in the country, to number 5, depending on which poll you use. They have an unbelievable pitching staff, unbelievable starting pitching staff. It's one of those things. 2 weeks ago they went to Arlington and just tore it up pitching wise. They continue to do that with the starters. They've either got the best pitching staff in the country or the second best pitching staff in the country, depending on how you look at, Wake Forest, who's number 1 in most of the polls and has a tremendous pitching staff, including picking up Chase Burns from Tennessee. But baseball carries a heavy burden right now. The other men's top sports that, are viewed in revenue-wise, I guess, football and basketball, have not had the seasons that everybody expects. And as soon as there was a loss in either one of those sports this year, they started talking about turning into basketball, turning into baseball. Well, now it's baseball season. They're winning, not hitting as much as I think they would want to, except on Tuesdays when they continually score. They've averaged 15 runs on Tuesdays. But it's a heavy burden they carry, but I think they'll live up to it. Dave Van Horn has never shied away from doing what he thinks needs to be done as a manager / head coach. I don't understand why they call it manager in the Major League Baseball and head coach in baseball, in college. Just get that worked out. But
that's worthy of an entire show. I mean, manager, coach, they do that. I mean, do we know why?
No, they're just really, really good, and it's going to be fun to cover them this year. And I am not scheduling anything in June.
Yeah,
I
Hogs.
expect them to have a real good chance to be there.
Yeah, well, they're in the mix every year. Vince Ferrara joins us from either Palm Springs, California, or Knoxville. Can we bring him on in here, Brenden? All right, let's get him in.
Yeah.
Dudley, I'm with you.
I'll take Vince for an X to block.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, and
he dropped off.
Okay,
Let's see if he comes back in.
But the interest in college baseball, we talked with Dudley about what Kevin O'Sullivan's got at Florida. You sit out there in the outfield. What's the funnest part of the stadium? We got a lot of Hog fans that watch this show, baseball fans in general. And what I find more and more of, they're just fans that just go, I'm not particularly a fan of this or that school. I just want to go be part of that atmosphere. So let's just come up with our new character. I am Floyd R. Turbo American. Remember that guy on the Johnny Carson show that used to? Yeah. Okay, if Floyd R. Turbo American said, I want to go to a baseball game, sell him on coming to Fayetteville in that baseball atmosphere, because it's absolutely gorgeous up there in the mountains, up there in the Ozarks. And you've got wild elk, the mulberry, the strawberry. If you like outdoor stuff, it's kind of a conservative version of Boulder, isn't it?
Yeah, certainly. And, if you're going to a baseball game in Arkansas, obviously the berm is, where a lot of people like to sit, that want to have fun more than just sit in the stands. And, it's a great crowd whether you're in the stands or in the berm. But if you're wanting to experience Arkansas baseball to its fullest and you want to have some fun and maybe have a cold beer or two,
yes, sir.
And not have the other dude sitting next to you worry about if you've had too many. Then you go to the berm and have all. And routinely, the left fielders are perturbed by the fans on the berm. And it's been interesting over the years to watch them turn around and say something. And I'm like, no, that's not how you handle this, man. You don't go back at them. They'll just come back at you harder. Yeah, I think it's just an overall great experience. But the berm is where this guy would go hang out if he didn't have to, keep up with balls and strikes.
You're a berm guy?
Yeah, I definitely would be. I'd be there early and be there late and Uber home.
Oh, see, I see that about you. You're very stoic. Like I could just see you holding that beer.
Dudley's laid back.
You're the guy.
Man. Dudley's laid back, but he's
have watching. Conversation. He's the best tailgate guy ever.
Well, tailgating, ever. I think I'd be real good at tailgating. But again, having to cover the games, I never get to fully experience that unless – and I won't say that I never have, but it's, few and far in between. But I may seem calm and all that, but I like to have fun. I just don't do it rarely in the public eye where people can take pictures of it.
Well, what's interesting, Dudley and Brenden, Coach Houston Nutt, I've had him on the show several times here last year. He said this past year, he goes, for the first time in my life, I'm going to get to go to a tailgate. And he's got grandsons, over in I think, Little Rock, where he is. And I was like, well, think about it. He's not very old. He's like, I don't know, mid-60s. Seems like he's about 30. But people don't realize the tailgates. But we used to, Dudley, did you ever make it to a Memphis Chicks baseball game when you were a kid? Okay. You remember, and we did it in high school, the left field loonies. And you'd sit out there and they'd have 25-cent cold beer. And we had this guy that led the cheers for the Memphis Chicks, Chief Nakahoma. And he wore a helmet, a buffalo head with horns, and he would get the crowd going crazy. And it wasn't Vince Ferrara, but this guy, we had more fun. The crowds at baseball games, you got, and Vince, I got to ask you, we're talking about college baseball. Dudley talking about the berm at Razorback Balm Stadium. There it is. There we go. Now that's where I want to be, out there with Joe Sixpack and Floyd R. Turbo American. I am a baseball fan, and I will drink
Floyd R. Turbo. See, in Florida, if you actually get cocktail tables on the far right-hand side of their berm. It's like a whole, like, you can just sit there and be comfortable under an umbrella.
Well, I want to be out there, Vince and Dudley and Brenden. I want to be out there with the people. I want We the People baseball stadium. Vince,
anything that begins with 25-cent beer and $1 beer, odds are I'm going to come.
That's what you guys pay?
I'm just saying,
Boy,
you
remember?
Oh my God.
Yeah. Hey, one of the guys on the show, Frank Duffy, was telling us, one of our regulars, Mr. LSU Tiger, the Braves used to do like this $1 beer and $1 hot dogs, the 12 o'clock special. And people used to see all these people there. It's kind of suspicious circumstances. Oh, it's bring your daughter to the game day. I'll just leave it at that. But Vince, Tennessee got a big one tonight in Columbia. They can clinch at least a tie for the SEC championship in basketball. You've chronicled what's been going on with Tennessee really well this year. Dalton Connect, comes out of Colorado Community College, UNC. Say it, Brenden. Go Bears.
Go Bears.
And now he's, I think, going to be SEC Player of the Year. What's going to happen, do you think, tonight in Columbia, South Carolina?
Well, with Alabama losing to Florida, Tennessee wins tonight. They clinch the regular season championship. So either that or there's still technically 4 other teams that could share that title if Tennessee doesn't win tonight. But Tennessee could win it outright tonight, and I expect Tennessee to be much better in their rematch game from South Carolina beating Tennessee in Knoxville back. I guess it was Game 7 of SEC play, one that was really shocking to a lot of people in 63-59. The way South Carolina limited the possession, slowed the game down, and really pushed Tennessee around with some physicality like Tennessee normally does to others. And they used up shot clock, then they dribble into the lane on a drive and then kick it out and make clutch threes. They made their free throws down the stretch, and that was an eye-opening game for Tennessee. But the Vols are much better now than they were then. I'm not sure that South Carolina has made that big of a jump since then. They certainly had a nice come-from-behind win against the Gators, but they also, since then, were absolutely woodshedded by Auburn on the road. So it's been a little bit more up and down for Carolina versus Tennessee. Their only loss was to A&M, and they've been much better since that game as well. And they won last game against Alabama without Dalton Connect going off. I think that was significant. Yeah. So I expect Tennessee to play better, but man, Colonial Life is going to be rocking like it has not since their Final Four days, I imagine. So home fans are going to want blood tonight with the Big Orange coming to town.
Yeah, and Dudley, jump in this conversation. Basketball, atmospheres, and that Colonial Arena, a team that was picked last has a chance to win the league. I still think Tennessee goes in there and wins straight up tonight.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, they're just rolling right now, and I think that they're pointing toward having a dominant postseason, and just like they have a regular season. And I know that's always been one of the criticisms of Coach Barnes. I don't think it's valid enough. I think it's a year-to-year thing, but I do think that the fact that they walked in to Alabama last weekend and got that win, that's a big thing. I think Alabama probably had a hangover last night, even though I think Florida's really good. I do expect Tennessee to carry the banner for the SEC in the NCAA tournament, and I'm looking forward to that. The regular season, while entertaining, just not much matter. So I'm losing to a 16. Just things to will freak you out if you go in and you look at the draw and go, man, I'm a 4 and it's 13. Has all these seniors and they've been together for 6 years because of COVID and all this, and now we got to go out and play these guys. Why did I get this draw?
Yeah. I mean, Vince, jumping on what Dudley just said, and a comment from W. Vander to all you folks, are these new style coaches trying to be more like CEOs rather than coaches? Let's talk about Rick Barnes' style and how I saw it on SEC Network, a good feature about, as he coached Kevin Durant, and, Dalton Connect is talking to him about how Kevin Durant played. They went to the Final Four at Texas, but let's talk about Rick Barnes and what every year he has Tennessee in the mix. But I talked to Tennessee fans, and they're like, well, wait till we get to March. That's when we fall apart. This woe is me, waiting for the other shoe to drop mentality. You can't listen to it, can you?
No, and the unfortunate part of it is if you feel that way, it's understandable to have it in the back of your mind. But if you let that dominate your view of this team, you're missing out on something that's been really special this year.
Yeah.
I mean, how can you go through this year and not enjoy watching this team play? And so you're going to deprive yourself of that, anticipating losing in the postseason. Okay, if it happens again, you'll be frustrated, and then you deal with it then. But fans are some of them are just, not all of them, some of them are just reluctant to fall in love because they feel like they're going to get heartbroken and broken up with. And you can't operate through life. You shouldn't. Hey, I'm not going to seek love because somebody's going to break my heart and break up with me. So forget it. I'll just be single all the time. It's not healthy. And oh, by the way, they're one of the best players in the country. And they're so different than past Rick Barnes teams that, have been more limited, not only in how they could win, but they also lost key players 3 different times that have totally changed their postseason run potential. And honestly, as good as this team is this year, if they lose any of their key players, any of them, whether it's Connect or Ziegler or James or Adu, you take one off of this team, I don't think they're making a deep run. But that's basketball. That's sports. Sometimes you can overcome it, but man, this team, what makes them so special is they have all of these elements that are different and really good in working together, whether it's getting out in transition, which in the past they haven't been able to, or playing inside outside, or winning without having a post game. That was the case against Alabama. Adu and Awaka, their 2 posts, were in foul trouble in the first half. Dalton Connect only had 13 points. Even with that, they still grinded out a win with their defense because they can win in other ways. But I think for the tournament, you need all of these elements at least there as a threat. If they're not there, at least as a threat, then you're more limited, and then it could be similar to the past. But, man, health is going to be a big part of what this team can do. That and matchups are always a big factor.
Yeah. Dudley.
Usually I always agree. Usually I agree with Vince. I think the thing I keep seeing in Tennessee is there are a lot of teams that are a collection, or there are a lot of programs that are a collection of talented individuals that play well together. But Tennessee is a team. He's done a great job in defining the roles. They look to each other for the best shot, not just a shot. Although when Dalton gets on a heater, they let him go. I just think it's a team instead of a collection of talented individuals.
Yeah, both of y'all just made great points because somewhere in the middle is what they are. But the negativity part, there's a guy named Roger Babson. For over 30 years, he kept predicting the Great Depression. Well, eventually a blind hog finds an acorn too. He'll eat. But I think fans are afraid, like y'all are saying, to get too excited. But you know what? What do you got to lose? I mean, you got nothing to lose. And I think I heard Shane Matthews saying this on the Buddy Martin show about the negativity of Florida fans about Napier. Fan bases want to win. You should expect to win every time you get on the court, shouldn't you, Vince? I mean, what are you there for? To watch them lose?
For sure. Now, it's understandable to have some realism also and not let yourself get too carried away. I mean, it's the SEC. Fans are going to have unrealistic expectations, right?
That's okay.
So, but that's all in fun, and the reality will set anyway. Look, I brought that up, but I also think that there are more and more of those people that haven't wanted to enjoy this season because of the postseason that have been converted, that have found themselves, whether they wanted to or not, they may have reluctantly fallen in love once again, even though they tried to stay away from it. I don't think it's as big a number as it was earlier this year, where that was a bigger narrative. We don't hear the wait till the tournament people quite as much. Now, they'll be loud and proud should Tennessee lose. Everyone's going to be like, I told you so, if they get eliminated early. But I also think that they've won a lot of people over, and Dalton Connect is a big part of that because he's so unique, so special, and so different than what Barnes has had. And Dudley was talking about how they're a team this year. This Tennessee team actually has an unselfish star in Connect. I mean, he wants to get everybody else involved. And there's times where they'll be like, dude, you take over, man. This is you. And Rick Barnes, unlike the past, has adjusted to that, and he will call on Dalton Connect to take over. Now, those guys can't just stand around and watch him. They still got to do their part. But, Rick Barnes on TV caught it. I don't know if you guys heard about this. To show you how connected they are, Rick Barnes let Santiago Vescovi draw up a play on the dry erase board late in that Alabama game. He was the one that called the play, and he just took it upon himself to do it. And Barnes was asked about it yesterday. He was like, man, I love it. I love it. He knows what to do. He's been around 5 years. He's dialed in. Sometimes players can see things that the coaches can't, and he trusts those veterans to do that. And Barnes has been really complimenting the veterans on how they're holding each other accountable and saying, dude, you can't do this anymore. We need you to do this, or, correcting each other. Because Barnes in the middle of the year after the loss to A&M said, I can't be the only one getting on these guys. Some of you guys have to do it and not just always tell your teammates, oh, it's good. You'll get it. Sometimes you got to be real with them. And I think this team really shows how connected they are by them policing themselves on and off the court.
Dudley, I think he just nailed it.
One of the things I want to say about fans, and I agree with Vince again, but I used to think there were 3 types of fans: optimistic, pessimistic, and realistic. Now I think there are 4: optimistic, pessimistic, realistic, and I just want to gripe. There's a segment that I just want to gripe. If they're winning, they're not winning enough. If they're losing, it's because of the coach, it's because of the players, it's never because of the fans. But there's just a certain element, since social media has become big, that is, as Vince said a little bit ago, I told you I was right. I just don't get that. I don't understand how you wake up every day needing to find something to be upset about.
You know what? I think Audrey, my wife, is a psychology major, and she watches body language when she watches these games. And, something that I've learned, that is, if you expect to fail and that's just what you're putting in your head day in and day out, you'll get it. But it gives negative people some control over their otherwise miserable lives to be just negative. And Dudley's right on that, the 4th tier of fans. And I just think, Dudley and Vince, tell me if I'm right or wrong, but you talk about Zakai Ziegler's been at Tennessee a while. His story is a really cool story coming out of the Bronx up in New York. Mm-hmm. Yep. Santiago Vescovo is from Uruguay or Argentina?
Uruguay, yeah.
Uruguay, okay. And the capital is Asuncion of Uruguay. But think about what he's been through. There's some guys that have been at Tennessee for a long damn time. And when I pick my teams, and we're going to do this group right here, and Brendan's going to do it with us too. We're going to pick our teams and our brackets. We're going to share it on the show when we do it for the big March Madness. But the reason a lot of people screw up is they fail to look at the number of teams from these group of 5, and you've never heard of them unless you watch basketball at midnight or 1 a.m. like we all do, that have been together for 3 or 4 or 5 years. That's the difference in this Tennessee team, Dudley and Vince, I think. And then you bring in a guy like Dalton Connect, who is all about the team culture. I think that's what's different about this edition of Big Orange Basketball. I just see how I see it.
Yeah, it is a veteran group. Josiah Jordan-James has been here 5 years. He was a one-time. He was a one-time 5-star coming in. He was a 5-star, and fans have been on him. I mean, even this year, because once you get that 5-star label, there's an expectation of play that fans have for you, and he's developed into a guy that is not out chasing the stats. He's a glue guy, a fix-it guy. As he was my Vol Network pregame interview for this South Carolina game. He's a South Carolina native, so it's his last game there. And one of the things he said that he improved on this year is learning how to play without the basketball. And that was an adjustment those guys, those veterans like Vescovy and James had to make, to where they're not going to get the volume of shots up anymore, or the points. They got to figure out how to play. And obviously they've done a great job of that. But yeah, it's a veteran group. Dude, Ziegler, those guys have been here 3 years. Gainey's a transfer. He's a first-year Vol, but he's been around the game. He's a veteran. Connect is in his final year also. Meshack's been here a couple of years. So for the exception of Estrella being a freshman who gets a few minutes here and there, everybody's been here multiple years, and this coaching staff has had a lot of continuity as well. That's another plus.
Yeah. Dudley, top to bottom, SEC, compare this league to Big 12, Big East, in whatever you rank it, 1, 2, 3, whatever. Also, talk about the guard play in the SEC versus what you see in those Big East schools, where there's just a different mentality, and you've got a lot of great game coaches versus program builders.
As I've said all along, I think the SEC is a great league. It's either 1 or 2. I try to be objective about this. I watch a lot of basketball. It's real easy to get, entrapped by watching more SEC basketball than I do Big 12, but I try to watch a lot. I would say that I think top to bottom, it's tougher in the Big 12 to go and win at some places. And I put Arkansas as one of the reasons that used to be really tough to win here. Now everybody's dropping in and doing it. And, I think there are some other places that you're able to get a win usually. Really the 4 teams that are going to play on Wednesday at the SEC tournament. I don't think they have as much a chance to make a run in the league tournament as some of the Big 12 teams do. I just think, trying to be objective about it this year, I think, even though I like the teams at the top of both leagues, I think top to bottom, I like the Big 12 a little bit better. And I realize that's, a statement people don't like here, but then again, I think from just the eye test.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, Vince, your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with Dudley. I think the Big 12 is a deeper league this year. Now, if you're looking for national championship contenders, out of the Big 12, you'd say Houston, you'd say Kansas, Iowa State is probably going to be a 2 seed. So those are 3 right there. How many are you going to pick to win the national championship out of the SEC? I mean, the way Alabama's played the last couple of weeks, I bet some people are going to be reluctant to do that. Tennessee for sure. Is Auburn in that category? Is Kentucky? I mean, maybe it depends on the night with those. I just think in number of teams, Larney has 9 in the tournament right now, where because A&M and Ole Miss dropped off, they're not even, much less in the field, they're not even in the next 4 out right now. So I think they're just deeper, and there's more top-end candidates, I think, to win the national championship from the Big 12. Baylor would be another one in that conversation. So it's the Big 12, but as Rick Barnes has said a bunch of times, and I'm sure other coaches around the league have echoed it, this is one of the better years and as good as the SEC maybe has ever been as a league in terms of how deep they are, except for Missouri and Vandy, and then how quality the coaches are in the league also.
Yeah, and both of y'all, I agree with you about the Big 12. You look at Kansas; has lost 5 or 6 games on the road. I mean, they're getting just crushed on the road. But you look at Alabama; they got crushed in Knoxville earlier, pounded at Kentucky, pounded at Auburn, and pounded at Florida. And I think Tennessee is the team most likely because of Dalton Connect. But the biggest game won by anybody in the league this year on the road was Tennessee at Alabama Saturday. And Dalton Connect had about half his scoring average that night. Other players stepped up in a hostile environment, everybody wearing those Bob the Builder hats in the Coleman Coliseum. I mean, Bob the Builder, yes, he can. But
all the stars were there too, Rob. Saban was sitting with DeBoer and Jalen Milroe, Justin Thomas. I mean, they were all there. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Dudley, you just this time of year, everything's coming together. It's the gumbo of Southeastern Conference and college sports. College basketball, spring practice starting up, college baseball. You got softball, gymnastics wrapping up. This is an awesome time of year. Way too early. And by the way, Vince, Daryl Benton was listening right now. You ever had it's Benton's Smoky Mountain hams and cured bacon before?
Ooh, sounds great.
Oh my goodness. He's listening right now over in Madisonville, Tennessee, not too far from Athens. I had some of that bacon a few weeks ago in Atlanta with our daughter and son-in-law's house. It is smoked bacon, and they can ship it anywhere. There.
Wow, nice.
Can you imagine some of that on get Mama Ferrara to make a pizza with some smoked bacon on it and all the other great stuff that she puts in there?
Yeah, that'll time me over until I get to Mama Ferrara's cooking for sure. Well, Saturday morning breakfast. Yeah.
Hey,
man, that looks good.
Before we get off here, Vince, I want to let you know that I saw that my man Tony can't go out and have a beer in Knoxville anymore. Let him know that when y'all come here next year to play baseball, and that's my understanding is that Tennessee is coming here next year to play baseball. I've got some spots where they don't take pictures and all that and we'll go out.
Of course you do.
I will let him know. I do the post-game interview for our Vol Network Baseball. Go down to the locker room, and he was a little perturbed because there was a Tennessee fan that was getting on Blake Burke, and he didn't like it. I don't know exactly what was said, but that was his point. It was like, this guy's drinking beer. He's not a loyal fan getting on Blake Burke, and he said he couldn't go out for beers in Knoxville. And of course, a whole bunch of fans were like you, Dudley. Hey, I know a spot. I'll take you somewhere private where you can have some beers, of course. But I'll pass that along.
I love my man, and he's just like apparently. My beautiful wife, Petra, tells me he's just like I was in high school. So.
Well, look, he's a competitor. I got no problem with that. I mean, people say, look, college athletes, you want someone coaching you who's competitive. I love college baseball. You know what it does? It gets people watching. And we've created is there a larger fan base of college baseball fans in America than the SEC? I'm just curious.
No.
It used to be remember we were growing up, it was all the Pac-12. Remember, Rod Ditto won 11 national championships at Southern Cal.
Baseball.
Yeah. Oh my. Yeah. Pac-12.
I don't have memories of Pac-12 baseball as a child.
Dudley and
Softball
Vince.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't have. I didn't. I mean, I played baseball, but I mean, did you follow college baseball as a kid? I followed. I
did.
I followed. I followed the Red Sox because I liked because I didn't have baseball. And then the Chicago Cubs because the WGN Superstation. That's because we
Harry Carey here with Steve Stone. Hey, think about this, guys. Last year when the Braves were 2 years ago when they were winning the World Series out in Houston, I think it was our friend Chuck Oliver, who does a great show every day, Southern Sports Today out of Atlanta. He said, look at all these Braves fans here in Houston. They call them the TBS kids. Because remember when you'd come home from school before you went to practice, there was always WGN and TBS with Ernie Johnson, Pete Van Wieren, Skip Carey, and baseball. I'm a real quick before we go, I'm going to throw it at you because I know how Brenden feels about it. But Dudley and Vince, what's your favorite sport to attend in person? Start with you, Vince.
I would say probably baseball, just because there's a social aspect of it. There's the mental aspect of you thinking through the strategy because there is that in-between time. You can tan, you can eat, you can drink, just the smells. It's just there's a romanticism and a turn back the clock, a trigger for memories of youth for me. So I would say baseball. My number one is football overall as a watching and covering. But man, baseball in terms of being there, I would say that's number one.
Yeah, and you're a Tampa Rays fan. Dudley, Dawson, your sport.
The longest love of my life has been baseball. There are just a few things that I love more than baseball. My wife, my kids, my grandson, a few of my friends. But I have always been enamored and romantically loved baseball, even when it's bad baseball, as I saw last season with the Cardinals. It speaks to me and it goes at my pace. I mean, I got a little worried when they started wanting to speed it up last year, but it ended up being okay. And guys not stepping up to my side. But I just love it. That's why.
Show me a media member, and this is from obviously you speak from experience. I grew up in this entire messed up life. Show me a media sports guy that doesn't love baseball. You guys love it because you get to just extend watching sports. That's all it is. It's just because it's easier. It's like why you watch golf on Fridays and Saturdays, because there's nothing else on. You can take a nap and then you can extend the entire sports viewing experience, which I get. But this is why, when I worked in sports TV production doing like slow motion replays for 18 years. Anytime we went to do a baseball game, you pack an extra snack because you're going to get a rain delay. You're going to have to sit and wait it out. It's like, give me a sport on the clock where I can know I'm going to be done at a certain time. But I mean,
double day says shut your mouth.
See, it's like my dad, Rob, it's all everyone loves because there's so much to it, right? You get to really dig into the game, right? You take score, there's a lot to it. I think maybe the time I hit baseball season, I'm just sort of my brain hurts from football season, and it's like
I just think it's the greatest
October.
But it's the greatest
man.
to visit.
643 equals 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, here you go. Well, Vince, let them know how they can follow you, and then Dudley, you do the same, and we'll close out. But another great show. Thanks you and both of y'all and Brenden and also Jordan Davis Hill, 24/7 Sports on Georgia. But love what y'all bring. This is a virtual newspaper in the mornings, and it goes out all over Podcastville. So appreciate everybody watching.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Always enjoy being on with both of you guys and Brenden also.
Thanks.
You can follow me on all the socials at Vince Sports, VINCE Sports, and on our website where you can get podcasts for our morning show, 6 to 9 a.m. Eastern time with John Wilkerson. He and I call Tennessee baseball. John's a longtime voice. I'm like the number 2. I do the middle inning play-by-play and analyst the rest of the time. But we're in the overlap season, Rob, as you were talking about right now. If we have a 5-game week. Tennessee just beat Kansas State last night. They had Southern Indiana tonight. We got Illinois in town for 3, on top of all the basketball stuff going on the Vol Network that I do. So just a lot going on. And 991thesportsanimal.com has that, or the Sports Animal app if you want to just download it and get all our content.
You can do that QR code right here,
Yeah.
and it takes you right to the website. Because
there you
got
go.
a guy
Awesome.
I am to you, Vince. Yeah,
I appreciate that.
A little more love next time. You bring up my name. Would be great.
I didn't know whether
It was
me
like
or you.
and Brenden. I mean,
well, my screen right now, because I'm on my phone as opposed to my laptop, it doesn't have all.
oh, there you go.
Uh-oh.
Karma. It's karma.
Vince, are you there?
Always be nice to your producer. That's a good. Like, if you're gonna end on a nice screen, that's a good frozen frame.
He froze.
He came back. I don't know if we give him a quick send off.
Yeah.
Vince, are you there?
Yeah. Vince, you there?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think I'm back.
Okay. Well, we're just saying goodbye to you, Vince. We love you.
He froze on there for a second, and then Dudley, let them know how they can follow you, and then we'll close out. But great stuff with Vince Ferrara as well. But love getting all y'all together.
Hogville.net. I think we're covering all 19 sports right now. Either they're in season or they're having something that makes it relevant to write about. FearlessFriday.com is the high school site we have, and as we've mentioned all along, DED, as in Dog Elephant Dog Sports, is my Twitter handle, where again you can find out about all my sports teams, and Arthur, the A-Train Dawson, the greatest grandson.
I want to know more about you, Dudley Dawson.
Yeah.
I want to know the guy behind the guy. Okay, Dudley. I feel
Dudley
like
Eugene. I love it.
Eugene.
Dead Sports.
He's already he's disappearing, like he's magic right now. He's like,
yeah, there he is. No, but look, we'll get into some baseball because Dudley as well. A lot of times I'll bring Buddy Martin on the show, and he goes, "Oh, watching the Rays game here." And hold on a second there. All great writers have a special place in their heart for writing about baseball. Absolutely agree with it, man. Hey, check out all of our sponsors. Support our guests that we bring on this show. It's a team.
Dudley.
It's an absolute team effort. Thank you so much, Dudley. Appreciate you being on here. And we always want everybody to go out and support our sponsors like Hewlett and Dunn Boot and Clothing Company on the historic square in Collierville, Tennessee. Got tons of new merchandise in for the spring. Check out these new shirts, Down South Acres. They have most of the SEC, a lot of the Big 12, a lot of the ACC schools, unique shirts. They've got the Tennessee shirt with the guy wearing the orange and white cover overalls. They've got the Smokey the Hound shirts. They've got the corner for Auburn. They've got the district from Mississippi State. They've got like a hurricane logo for Miami, the panhandle for Oklahoma, country roads for the West Virginia fans. But check them out. They've got the shirts for sale. Hewlett and Dunn Boot and Clothing Company.com. Also the Vitamin Shop, Oxford and Olive Branch, Mississippi. Both locations owned by Matt Price and Justin Ross, our friends. And do yourself a favor. Rumble Boxing Gym, 1835 Union Avenue, Midtown Memphis. Open Monday through Friday, 5 a.m., 7 p.m., Saturdays and Sundays, 9 a.m. till about noon. 48 people in those classes. Some of the best instruction, best workout you will ever get. Most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. We live in the greatest country in the history of the world. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your neighbors. Smash the subscribe button. Allow notifications on your phone. Every time we put a show out, you will be alerted. Anything else we need to cover, Brenden, before we say adios, amigos?
Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye.
All right.
In a perfect world, you'd set a health goal and results would happen overnight. In this world, the real world, it takes time, dedication, and the right support to achieve your best self. The Vitamin Shop's health enthusiasts are here to make sure you're not wasting a single moment on the wrong supplements. From the highest quality sports nutrition and superfoods to the most sought after trends, you'll find a huge variety of science-backed solutions for every goal. And the people to help guide you along the path to greatness.
Unbelievably, every 2 minutes in our communities, a child is either bought or sold for sex. I am Ari Dickey, board member for the Nashville Anti-Human Trafficking Coalition. Join me and millions of others in our fight against human trafficking and for its victims by helping to educate the most vulnerable among us, our middle and high school students. Go to nhtcoalition.org, become a partner, and help keep our families safe, because none of God's children are for sale.